to touch a little bit on it, and basically it's a generic term. People always go into radiant heat. We want to classify it more as in-floor heat systems, okay? And when we look at in-floor heat systems, it can only be categorized in three ways. So when we ask ourselves, we have the first one is conduction, the second one is convection, and the last one is going to be in radiation, okay? So let's try getting into is in heat transfer methods. We're going to show the first one. When you look at it, when we take, like, here's the metal strip, and you can see now the heat waves and how it's actually transferring the heat on down the shaft. If I took a torch and heated a steel rod, that's what it's mimicking. All that heat is finally going to move the atoms on down the shaft until you finally burn your hand. That's when you start looking at conduction energy. Convection energy, here you look at when you're dealing with particles of liquid or gas, is when you heat them, you can see in how by applying heat that the particles will spread out and become less dense, and they moved. And that's where, like when you're going to be boiling water, or taking and moving it, that is your convection energy. Radiant energy, you can see in how that the heat energy from the sun to the earth, but what's missing? There are no objects, no particles, no nothing that's coming into play. So what we're doing is it cannot travel by conduction or convection, and that's where you get your radiant heat out of. So we're actually feeling the heat out of your in-floor systems. And typically, like, this is where it's important for us to understand the different types of systems that we're dealing with. A lot of the older buildings you get into is with the old radiators or baseboard heat. They end up with a supply temperature, and you have your supply temperature of 175 degrees, or even your steam at 230 on a steam radiator. They're still considered as a radiant heat application. For us, we're looking at in-floor heat, but still when we're dealing with, matter of fact, if you want a chuckle out of it, on hardwood floors business, if you Google my name, and it'll have like radiators, on one of the job sites we were doing it, pulled out of a dumpster, it was a little metal tray folded up that went between the fins all the way through the radiator, and you had this little, like a square funnel on the outside that you'd go and take a pitcher of water to fill that up for evaporation, and that was their humidification system. Oh. And it's kind of like their antique. It was kind of like, wow. But it was, those houses breathe like a paper bag anyway, so it was really kind of a moot point. But they came up with engineering and how to make it work for radiators for applying humidification to it.